And so I'm coming to you today from one of the most somber places on the planet, a place of death, a place that I can always find some peace and quiet because nobody really wants to visit the place of death. But one of the inevitable truths that I just got done talking with somebody about is the inevitable truth of death for all of us. Death is gonna happen. It's not a question of if it's gonna happen or not. Being able to accept death is one of the mental health truths of life. Not being able to accept death, being in fear of death, avoiding death, being unwilling to talk about death, all of that can lead to some deeper issues in our mental or psyche. We have challenges at times talking about death because it's not comfortable. It's like talking about the fact that we all poop. Poop is not a very comfortable topic for anybody, but it's an inevitable truth. And in the same way that death and poop are both an inevitable truth, poop is what fertilizes new life. When poop is used as fertilizer, it allows for new growth to come up. In the same way in your life, when death is something that you're not afraid to think about, to talk about, to contemplate, the more comfortable and less fearful you can become of death, the more that life can spring out of that death, the more that health can spring out of that death. Because through our life, there's going to be times when things need to die, when there's parts of you and I that need to die. It's part of life. One of the truths of life is death. It's not a fun truth, but it's a truth. And it's a truth that when we're able to accept, we're much better off. The acceptance of death is a process. It's not something that just happens in an instant. And I'm reminded of a Jewish custom of how sitting Shiva with somebody after death is simply sitting. Just like I'm sitting here in the safety of this umbrella from the rain above me, and sitting here in complete safety of death around me. I'm not in greater risk of death by sitting with these dead people here. I'm not at a greater risk of death by simply being near death. I'm simply at risk of death if I'm afraid of encountering death. One of the things that you find when you start to hear the survival stories of many cancer patients is how many of them accepted that death was a possibility. They accepted the fact that death could come, and they continued to live their life. It kind of reveals a secret of life, that the truth lies somewhere between life and death, in the fact that we can accept the truth of death. We can accept that death is truthfully going to happen. And when we sit with it, when we allow for that death to be a part of our reality, we can allow new life to grow out of that. Life and death are so interconnected. It's a fine balance between the two. I hope that today, this message of death can encourage you just to take a moment to sit with death, to sit with the uncomfortability of death, that it's a reality, that it's a truth we will all one day face, and that it is safe to talk about and think about even death.